Hello, my name is Barry Wiss, certified wine educator and president for the Society of Wine Educators. Wine, grapes, and labels. You're busy. We get it. You've got jobs to do, people to see, which is why we've done the hard work for you by figuring out what you need to know about wine to make your customers happy. And you know what happy customers do. The plan for the next few minutes is to give you a solid introduction to wine basics. So, what is wine? That may seem like a silly question. You know what wine is. Wine is wine, right? But in the United States, the word wine is legally defined as the beverage made from fermented grapes. So when you use the term wine, we're not talking about pineapple or rice wine. You should also know that wine grapes aren't any old grapes. The grapes used in winemaking are from the species vinifera. And if you did buy a bunch of vinifera to snack on, you'd probably be disappointed. Why? Because while they are sweet, they are also tiny with thick skins and seeds. The skin and seeds taste bitter because of their naturally occurring tannins. Tannins are a natural preservative which allow a wine to age for a long time. Now that you know what wine is and isn't, let's delve into some terms that will come up again and again. We'll give you a quick lowdown on what they mean when it comes to wine. First up is body. Body is how wine feels in your mouth. Generally, we talk about wine being light, medium, or full-bodied. You've probably had skim 2% and whole milk before. You know how these different types of milk feel in your mouth. That's what we mean by body. Skim milk is lighter bodied, whereas whole milk is full-bodied. Aroma is another common term. When we say aroma, just think smells of a wine. These are smells that originate from the grape variety. If we say that Pinot Grigio has an aroma of pear, this is an aroma from the grape and does not mean that the wine was infused or made with actual pear. So how can that be? Grapes are amazing. When you grow a certain grape in a certain special area, that grape can take on hundreds of different aromas. It is one of the main reasons we use grapes to make wine. Sweet is something we're all familiar with. It's how sugar tastes in your mouth. In the world of wine, we're happy to let you know that it means the same thing. Sweet wines have residual sugar in them, so they taste sweet. So what is dry? You may be thinking, not wet, but in the wine world, it means that there's no residual sugar left in the wine. You probably know that alcohol is produced through fermentation, when yeast eat the sugar present in the grape juice. If the winemaker allows the yeast to consume all of the sugar, there is no residual sugar left in the wine, and the wine is dry. We wish the person who coined the term made this a little more logical, but it is what it is, and now you know. Now, one more thing worth mentioning is New World versus Old World. These terms pop up often, so better get a handle on them now. Remember the age of exploration you learned about in school? Yeah, neither do we. But after a quick search on Wikipedia, we had an aha moment. It's the period from the mid-15th to the mid-16th centuries, when the world was being explored and countries were seeking new lands. Think Columbus crossing the ocean blue in 1492 to discover America. This period is what divides the New World and Old World, which relates to New World and Old World wines. Old World wine regions have been making wine for thousands of years. These are the places that sent out the explorers, like France, Italy, Greece, Spain, and Portugal. New World wine regions are places like the United States, Australia, Chile, New Zealand, and South Africa, where winemaking and the vinifera grape were imported. Why should you care? The reason comes down to style. Old World wines are generally lighter, less fruity wines with maybe higher acidity and lower alcohol levels. New World wines are generally fruitier, riper wines with lower acidity and maybe slightly higher alcohol levels. Knowing whether a wine is a New World or Old World can tell you more about what's inside the bottle. Before we move on to discuss grape varieties, it's important to know the difference in how New World and Old World wines are labeled. In both cases, you can get the information about the variety, vintage, percent alcohol, growing region, and producer. The big difference is that Old World wines are generally labeled by the place where the wine was produced. Famous case in point, a red Burgundy is Pinot Noir from Burgundy, France. In the New World, grapes get the credit, so wines are labeled by the grape that made the wine. A Pinot Noir made in California is labeled as such. And with that, we're ready to delve into the world of white wines. Now, we're not going to go over every white variety known to mankind. Instead, we'll touch on the ones your customers will most likely want to drink. We'll start with dry whites first and move on to sweeter ones. Sound good? The first white grape variety we'll look at is Pinot Grigio, also known as Pinot Gris. Yes, there are two names for the same grape variety, but we'll explain more later. Pinot Grigio is probably what your customers are most familiar with. It's produced in New World regions like California and Australia. These are dry, zippy wines with aromas of apple, lemon, pear, and almond. Because it's easy to match like with like, pair these light-bodied wines with fish or chicken dishes, or more delicate seafood. They can also cut through maybe higher fatty dishes, like with cream sauce, thanks to their bright acidity. Pinot Gris is generally made in Old World wine regions like Alsace in France, and tend to be full-bodied and slightly spicy with floral notes and varying levels of sweetness. Drier styles of this wine go well with veal, pork, and salmon, while slightly sweeter styles of this wine will balance with the heat of spicier foods. There are now places in the Old World that actually indicate the grape on the label, such as Pinot Grigio from Trentino, Italy. Sauvignon Blanc is another popular white grape variety and is native to France, but New World wine regions such as California, New Zealand, Chile, and South Africa are now famous for growing it. Sauvignon Blanc tends to have herbal notes with tropical fruit flavors. Think guava, peach, kiwi, and grapefruit. These wines are typically fermented in stainless steel and are dry, zesty wines and light to medium bodied. It's also known as Fumé Blanc, which generally means it was aged for a short time in oak barrels. This wine pairs well with lighter seafood dishes like perch, sole, mussels, crab, and oysters on the half shell. Because of its herbal notes, Sauvignon Blanc also goes well with dishes that contain herbs like parsley, basil, rosemary, and even mint. Chardonnay is a super popular grape. Think of the head cheerleader in high school. Highly recognized by consumers and planted throughout the New World and Europe. Depending on the climate, the grape takes on different characteristics. In warmer climates like California and Australia, Chardonnay generally is more full-bodied and richer with tropical fruit aromas, slightly higher alcohol content, which is known as the California style. In the New World, Chardonnay is likely aged in oak barrels, which contributes secondary aromas of butterscotch, vanilla, caramel, and toasty oak. In cooler climates, like Burgundy and Champagne in France, the variety produces leaner, crisper wines with green fruit aromas like apple and pear. Chardonnay is one white wine that can age well, with some wines improving up to a decade or more. When pairing food with Chardonnay, consider the wine's style. Pair similar intensity Chardonnays with similar intensity foods. So lean and crisp, cooler climate Chardonnays with light fish and chicken dishes, and California-style Chardonnays with richer foods like lobster and pasta in a cream-based sauce. Riesling is native to Germany and loves the region's cold weather, so it probably comes as no surprise that it does well in cool climates in the New World, like Columbia Valley, Washington, and the Finger Lake region of New York. Riesling is one of those wines that can be dry or sweet. Either way, the wine has beautiful, bright acidity and intense floral aromas with notes of nectarine, peach, apricot, and honeysuckle. Many Rieslings contain a medium level of sweetness, so they generally have lower levels of alcohol and are medium to full-bodied. Because of the wine's sweetness and acidity levels, they can mellow out the heat of spicy foods and would pair well with jambalaya and other spicy dishes. Moscato is made from the Muscat grape, an old Italian variety. Dare we say ancient? It's potentially the oldest cultivated grape variety in the world and is often made into a sweet wine, but its crisp acidity balances the sugar level. When you open a bottle, you're in for quite a treat. It's perfumey with peach, honeysuckle, nectarine, and beautiful orange blossom. Pair it with spicy barbecue and Szechuan or Thai dishes to mellow that heat. But also try it with fresh fruit desserts that mirror the wine's aromas, like a peach tart. So that's it for the whites. It's time to move on to the reds. As a server, you probably know that people love their Pinot Noir. It's a variety thought to be native to Burgundy, France, and is famous for its contribution to red Burgundies. The grape does well in other cool climates, like Santa Barbara County in California, Oregon, and New Zealand. Pinot Noir tends to have higher acidity with medium levels of alcohol. It's lighter bodied than most reds, with a pale medium color. You'll get notes of raspberry, strawberry, cherry, and some earthy characteristics like mushroom and leather. Trust us, the mix is good. It's an extremely food-friendly wine that pairs well with a wide spectrum of dishes. So if you need a crowd pleaser, this one is it. It goes well with salmon, but can also pair well with duck, chicken, mushroom risotto, and even pizza. When in doubt, go with Pinot Noir. Sangiovese is Italy's most famous grape, known for its contributions in Chianti and many other Italian wines. While it is not widely planted outside of Italy, it does well in warmer regions, like Amador County, California, and certain parts of Washington State. Sangiovese is closer to Pinot Noir than a Cabernet Sauvignon or a Malbec. It is lighter in color and body with bright acidity. It often has notes of red cherry and even orange peel. But as it ages, the wine takes on darker notes such as mocha, tea, and sun-baked earthy flavors. Since it is an Italian variety, it goes great with Italian food. Pair it with spaghetti bolognese, lasagna, cioppino, roasted meats, sausages, and lamb. Merlot, which means little blackbird in French, hails from Bordeaux, France. In this region, the variety is used to make Bordeaux blends. Now, you may have heard of left bank and right bank wines. If you have no idea what we're talking about, not to worry. Here's an explanation in the nutshell. A long time ago, when Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot were first being planted in this region, there was a river Gironde, which divided the land. It's still there today, in case you were wondering. The vintners on the right side of the river thought their land was better suited for growing Merlot. Naturally, they planted this variety and made it the majority grape variety in their Bordeaux Reds. The same story played out with the vintners on the left side of the river, just with Cabernet Sauvignon instead of Merlot. Because of its fame from Bordeaux Reds, Merlot was widely planted in new regions like California. Merlot is still one of the most popular varieties among consumers and wine-growing regions like Sonoma County in California, Long Island in New York, Chile, Washington State are producing some tasty examples of this grape variety. The wine, which has aromas of red cherry, red plum, coffee, and chocolate, is often compared to Cabernet Sauvignon. They do have many similarities, but overall, think of Merlot as Cabernet Sauvignon's little brother. Since Merlot is a little softer and rounder than Cabernet Sauvignon, it does well with milder foods that match its body and intensity. It also pairs well with a great range of foods. So next time you need to pair a wine with beef tenderloin, pork, lamb, duck, or mushrooms, give Merlot a shot. Cabernet Sauvignon is Chardonnay's match in the red wine world. It's grown worldwide, and it's the most planted wine grape in the world. Not surprisingly, it is also highly popular, creating wines with great power, complexity, consistency, and depth. It's the gladiator of wine grapes. It's native to Bordeaux, France, but its ability to do well in a variety of growing conditions has helped to make a name for itself worldwide. In addition to France, it's widely produced in California, Chile, and Australia. In the New World, it does quite well because of the warmer climate and longer growing season, which allows the grape to fully ripen, producing jammy fruit aromas like black cherry and black currant. When you think of Cabernet Sauvignon, think of deep, dark, rich black fruit. Other common aromas are chocolate, cedar, tobacco, coffee, and cigar box. Because of our friend the tannin, which is that bitter component in the grape skins and seeds, Cabernet Sauvignon is able to age gracefully for 10, 15, even 20 years. They also cut through any richness in the food, which is why Cabernet Sauvignon pairs well with fattier dishes. The classic pairing of cab and steak also works because you're matching the body and intensity of the food with the body and the intensity of the wine. Whew. We have finally reached our last red variety, Malbec. This is another variety indigenous to France, but where it really shines now is in the New World, in Mendoza, Argentina. The grape loves the dry climate and soil, producing wines with a deep, rich hue, almost black, and flavors of chocolate, blackberry, plum, mocha, and earthy aromas. It's full-bodied with higher alcohol content, a little bit higher acidity, and tannin. Try pairing this wine with roasted meats, stews, braised lamb, and wild mushrooms. Okay, that was a lot of information condensed into a short video. But now you should have a good grasp on wine basics. You should know what wine is and isn't, understand commonly used wine terms, the difference between Old World and New World wine styles and labels, and about red and white varieties that will be popular amongst your guests. And now for our wine quiz. In the U.S., wine can be fermented from only grapes. Which countries below include only Old World wine regions? Portugal, France, Spain, and Greece. There are more. Which statement about New World and Old World wine labels is true? New World wines are labeled by grape variety. Which statement about Old World, New World wines is true? The Old World wine style tends to be less fruity and higher in acidity. What do you think would pair best with Pinot Noir? Grilled lamb chops. I hope you enjoyed learning about wine, grapes, and labels. Cheers.